start now. So we're done with a lot of things, and here we are. We had the exercise as well that you guys have to log in into your Facebook accounts, right? Now, before we move into anything else, let's discuss a scenario that was, what if two elements have same IDs? This happens sometimes, right? When it happens, whenever the developer does not want, say, to want the testers to be working on their websites, right? So the thing is that in such cases, what happens is even you guys are not able to work with those situations. Now, how would we be able to handle these things, right? This can be easily handled, right? But not directly. Why? Let's see that. So what happens is that, just a second, let me just open a picture here. Now you may have noticed how the page looks like. Let's consider a page, right? So here, this is the page. I'll just add random stuff here. Suppose this is an element, then there is another element, right? Then there is some element here as well. We need some element here, right? Then we have this element, the same element here as well. We have some elements here, right? So question comes up, how the page is being rendered, right? How the page is being read, right? So here the thing is that what happens is that there are a lot of things on the page, a lot of things on the screen, and what happens is a very simple thing happens whenever we deal with Selenium. What Selenium does is it starts from the top left corner and goes to the top right corner, right? So it starts reading from this particular point. This is not something that I was expecting. Just a second. Yeah, this is something I was expecting. Here it starts from this particular situation and it goes like this. Then again it starts from here and it goes like this. Now suppose the element we need, suppose these are the two elements, both share the same ID, right? Say ABC, and here also ABC. Now the question comes up, which element will be accessed via Selenium, right? So here again this goes something like this. Now here, if we read the documentation clearly, let's go to the official website of Selenium. So selenium.dev, and here if we go to the downloads, and let's see that whether it works here right now or not. Otherwise we'll look up for the API docs, right? Here, control F, web element. There is no web element here, so let's look up for all classes. Control F, web element is again not here, so let's do one thing. Let's look up for Selenium 3.141.59 Java doc, right? Here we have the Java doc, say already, right, which we can use. Now here the thing is that let's look up for web element, right? Or let's go with WebDriver, right? So here we have the WebDriver as well. Now find element was the method, find element, right? Notice something, find the first web element using the given method. What does this mean? This means that even if we have multiple elements, right, the first element to be struck by Selenium would be this one, right? Will it go forward? Actually, no, it will stop here. So whenever we specify a ID, we will be able to deal with this particular element only, right? But the thing is that what if I require this one? Question comes up, how would I be able to go to this particular point, right? It will be hard for me now. Now the thing is that to get to this particular point, we need something that allows us to deal with it, that allows us to get this element as well, right? And similarly, there are a lot of elements on the page, not one, not two, there are a lot of elements on the page, right? So here the thing is that how would we be able to handle such kind of a situation, right? Now handling such kind of a situation is very easy. Now what we would be doing is we would be making use of something that is, say, XPath. So here what we would be doing is we would be actually using XPath, and the first question that would say hit your mind is, what is XPath? How would we be able to deal with it? Why do we need it? Right? A lot of questions you may have in your mind. So first question is, what is XPath? Right? Now the simplest definition for what is XPath is, it is the address of the element on the page. Now what does this mean? Let's consider an example. For example, let's consider someone. Suppose there is a person who lives in India in a city, say Gurgaon, right? And to be specific, or say Delhi, right? So here inside Delhi, he may be living in some region, for example, South X, right? Now he may be having some house number as well, so say 1100. Now the thing is that to reach that person, what you need is this, right? What is this? This is the address of that particular person, right? Now in the same way, there are elements on the page. So let's see them. Control say or say F12 directly. I can see that there are elements on the page, and we have those elements shown here, right? Now for each and every element, for example, let's go to this website rediff.com, and we were on the sign in page, right? Control Shift C, this window will open, and let's highlight that element. So here this is the element. Now this element has some address. To locate this element, to get to this element, we just need to provide that address. In the same way we provide addresses for people. And the thing is that wherever that person is located, all over the world, that person will receive the letter or the things that you would want to send. On the same way, we can look at elements here as well, and that particular element can be, say, worked with. For example, if you want to tell that I want to click you, so we can do that. Or we can tell the element that I want you to type something on yourself. So we can do that, right? We can interact with that particular element with that particular address. Now the question comes up, how the address is determined, right? So the simplest way is, we start from the root. What is the root? The root is this HTML tag. So if we start from the root, what we can do is we can have the, say, address generated. Question comes up again, how it is generated. So let's do one thing. Let's have this window moved to that screen, that is DevTools in the desktop 3. Here now I'll just start writing the XPath that we may need, right? I'll start from here on the top. The text should be a little bit smaller so that we get a lot of plenty of room for typing. So the first element is HTML, right? Then inside HTML, you can notice that there are two tags, head and body. So what tag we need? We need body tag, right? Now in the same way it will go something like this. So if I right click on this particular element and go to copy, right, we have an option of copy full XPath. Now the moment I click this, you can see that address will be generated for me, and here if I paste it, you can see that what is happening around here, right? So here something like this. What is this? We are starting off from HTML, then we are getting inside body. There are two tags, body and head. So we are getting inside body. Then inside body, we are getting inside the div tag. This is where, see, if we notice something, we are going step by step, right? Then div 1, what is div 1? There may be multiple div tags. So we are accessing the first div tag. Then the second div tag. You notice that here there are multiple div tags. So we are getting the second one. Then the next tag is form tag. Inside form tag, we have multiple div tags. So we're going with the first div tag. Then here inside that, we have the second div tag, and so on. And in the ending, we're reaching the element. This type of XPath, just a second. This type of XPath is called as complete XPath, right? Or we can call it, say, complete XPath, or say absolute XPath, right? Just a second, I specified a wrong word. So here, complete XPath or absolute XPath, right? Now, the thing is that with this way, we can locate the element and we can deal with that element. So let's do one thing. Let's write the code for this. So here, the first thing is I'll close up all the older code. We don't need that. We'll close up all the packages as well. Now here, I'll create a new package. This will be day 05. Why am I creating new packages every day? So that we can differentiate between the things that we have done in the last lecture, right? Here we have got day 5, new Java class, and here it is Rediff login. So specify a meaningful name so that we can say understand it later on. Here, what we need the main method. So control space, we have got the main method. What's next? We need the WebDriver to be initialized. So WebDriver equals to new web, say Firefox, Chrome, Edge. You can go with any of the browsers. I'll go with Firefox right now. Let's see that whether it opens fast or not. So here the say WebDriver is initialized. What's next? We need to get to the page. So driver.get. We need the URL. I'll specify the URL in a moment. Next thing is we've got to the page. What's next? We need to click on that element. So here web element and say username field equals to driver dot find element by what we have XPath as a method as well. So we'll specify the XPath here now. So this is the XPath. Now here we have found the element. We need to deal with it. So username field dot send keys, and I'd like to send some data. A plain old method, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. Right now, before we move on, let's just copy this URL because without this we won't be able to proceed further, right? Control Shift F10, and here I think so the shortcut gone wrong. Just a second, let me just close it. Let's run this from here. So this, and here you can see that this is executing now, and here illegal character. I may have specified a wrong character somewhere, and this was my keyboard's fault. Let's run this code once again. Here you can see that the code is executing now, and here Firefox software updater. This is why I hate Firefox. Every time we do something with it causes some kind of a trouble. So here, let it just update, and then we can start dealing with it again. And it has started. Let's close this. Let's run this code once again. Now it won't ask me for an update. Now here you can see that the code is running. The browser is opened. It will be taking us to that particular page, and here it will be typing the password. What did we do? Let's analyze that. So here, if you notice something, we located the element with its address, not the way we were working with earlier, right? We have not specified any ID here, right? We have located the element that we wanted to deal with. Question comes up whether we would be able to deal with this rediff.com link or not. We would be or not. Let's see that. So here, right click on this, copy full XPath. Here we have got the XPath. Now here, let's go back to the code and say paste that XPath here. So say web element, say home page URL, or say link equals to driver dot find element by what? XPath. So by XPath, and this is the XPath. We've got the element. Say home page link dot click. Let's see that what happens here now. So if I run this code, you can see that the code will be executing, it will be locating the element, it will be typing in the username, and then it will be taking us to the home page. This is something that we want to do. And now the thing is that actually we are able to click, right? Actually we are able to deal with it. Earlier we were not able to click on that rediff.com link. If we go back, we were not able to deal with this link at all, right? So the thing is that with the help of XPath, we were able to locate this element and deal with it, which was not possible earlier, right? So here, XPath is very helpful for us, right? Now the thing is that if you've noticed something, I'm locating the element in Google Chrome and I'm trying to work with that element in Firefox browser. I can use any of the browsers. I have four browsers in my machine: Firefox, Edge, Windows, say Internet Explorer, and Chrome. The same thing will work in any of the browsers. We don't have to worry about it, right? So here from Firefox, let's go with Chrome. So here, let's run this code, and you can see that this time Chrome browser will open. And here, just a second, guys. So here we have this working, right? So the thing is that it doesn't matter which browser we have opted for. The thing is, it should be working, right? If we are able to see the same page across all the browsers, then we don't have to worry about the code being executed. Things will work the same way. So here, let's close this browser. Any of the browser window open? No. We can go with it now. Now here, this means that we can locate the element and we can deal with it. In the same way, let's try with password field as well. So Control Shift C, locate this element. This is the element, right click, copy, copy full XPath. Right. Now here, say copy full XPath. This is the XPath, right? I'll just remove the older XPath. We have this XPath with us. I'll just have this XPath, and what I'd be doing is I would be actually specifying this XPath here. I don't want to click on this link, so I'll just comment out this particular part. So here, web element, say password field equals to driver dot find element by XPath, and here paste at XPath. Now we have the XPath, we have the element with us, so we can deal with that password field as well. So password field dot send keys, and here we can specify the same plain old data, right? And now let's just try running this code. So here you can see that the code is executing. It will be taking a little bit of a time, but it will be working for us, right? Now here we have the username and the password field, right, with the help of the XPath. Now the thing is that can we have another kind of XPath for the same element? Or another question, can a single element located with multiple XPaths? The answer to that question is yes. A single element can have multiple types of XPaths. For example, if we right click here, go to copy, and if we go with copy XPath, notice something. For the same element, we have another XPath, right? What is this kind of XPath actually? So here, this type of XPath is called as, say, partial XPath, right? Or we call it relative XPath. So don't get confused whenever someone asks you that what is the difference between complete XPath and absolute XPath. Both are same. And what is the difference between partial XPath and relative XPath? Both are same, right? So here we have the partial XPath, or you can say that relative XPath. And you notice something, it is very short, right? So here we can deal with this XPath as well. So instead of working with this XPath, what I do is I specify something. What is that something? Say here, web element password field equals to driver dot find element, say by what? XPath. And here this is the XPath. Now notice something, it is not being pasted properly. So do one thing, go back and make a little bit of a change. Wherever we have double quotes, replace it with single quotes. This way you can deal with it very easily. And the thing is that Java code won't cause any kind of trouble in the future as well. So here, just paste that XPath that you've copied now. Deal with it. So we are trying to deal with it here. Let's try running this code. And here you can see that the code is executing. It will be taking a little bit of a time. And here, say, you can see that it has typed in the username. The XPath is different. I commented out the older XPath, right? This means that we can deal with the elements with the say relative or say say partial XPath as well, right? So what does this XPath actually tell us, right? What is being done here actually? What is the thing say here, right? How we are actually able to deal with it, right? So there are a lot of things happening in the background, and the main thing is here it is looking up for an element. Let's just discuss this part, XPath part, right? So we have this XPath. The text is very small. Let's paste it something like this. What is being done? There are a lot of things being done here. The first thing, this double forward slash. Just a second, let me just paste it on the top. First thing is double forward slash. What is it? What does this mean? Double forward slash. This means that anywhere inside the say HTML tree. Next thing, star. This means that any tag name, right? Next thing is these square brackets. This is the attribute of the element, or you can say that not just attribute, actually information about the element. This is the best word we can use, right? Now here, to specify attribute, we specify the at the rate. This means that attribute, right? And there are a lot of things as well, lot of other things as well. Now this may have raised a question in your mind: can we customize it? Yes. And there comes up the third kind of XPath, right? That is custom XPath, right? So here, custom XPath. What is custom XPath? Anything that you generate on yourself, right? For example, I need to deal with this particular element, right? I can see that there is an input tag. So the first thing is double forward slash anywhere inside the tree, look up for input tag, right? Now here, after getting to the input tag, what's next? You need to find an element whose ID is password, right? So here, square brackets, at the rate ID equals to password, right? This is the XPath. Now just to try this out, what we can do, Control F, paste, hit Control F, paste it this XPath and see whether it is working or not. What is the mistake? I've made one mistake. I forgot to specify the ending of the bracket as well. Sorry, not the bracket, ending of the quote. Right? And you can see that the element has been highlighted here. Right? This means that we can deal with this particular element. Now the question comes up how we can generate XPaths. Right? So here the thing is that we have multiple ways of generating XPaths. First thing is we can directly generate the XPath by right clicking on the element, go to copy and choose one of the options, copy XPath or copy full XPath, or we can say write our own XPath. But there is another tool as well that we can make use of to generate the XPaths. What is that tool? Let's discuss about that. So here there is a tool, Selectors Hub, right? This is a recently launched tool. Earlier the name was something else, that is Crowpath. Now the name has been changed to Selectors Hub. Now if you go here, you can see that this is the Google Chrome store link. You can add it to your, say, browser. You can go to this link and you can find the links for other browsers as well, right? So here we can have Selector Hub for Google Chrome, then Safari, Firefox, Edge, and Opera. The browser I would be dealing with is Google Chrome and Firefox. So let's copy this URL from here and let's open this URL on Firefox as well. So Firefox, and let's install it. Now, why am I installing it first on both of the browsers and then say I'll be teaching you about it? The thing is that in any of the browsers you would want to deal with, the way it works is completely same. So we won't be discussing about different browsers. We'll just discuss about one browser and the same procedure will apply on other browsers as well, right? So here what we would be doing is we would be clicking on add to Firefox. It will be asking me for my permission, so let's provide that permission and let's add it, and you can see that Selectors Hub has been added to Firefox. Earlier I used to use Crowpath. Both of these are same, right? Now here Selectors Hub has been added. Now we can discuss about the usage. So both of the browsers are same and we can deal with it. The first thing that you need to do is that close the developer tools window which has opened earlier. Now here go back to the page, hit Control Shift C again, try to locate the element that you wanted to deal with. For example, this element. Let's move this window to the third desktop because we may need to deal with it again. So here we have the element highlighted here. Question comes up where we would be able to see the XPath. On the right section, you can see that styles, computed, layout, event listener, and some other things. Maybe this window won't be on the right section. Maybe it will be on the bottom section. You can see something like this here, right? So it doesn't matter where this window is, right? Click here on the expand button and you can see that there is the option of Selectors Hub, right? So here now inside Selectors Hub, you can see that there are few things, right? You can see that there is a relative Css selector, there is a relative XPath. This is the relative XPath that we can make use of, right? What other things we have? We have absolute XPaths generated here as well. Now the thing is that this is a location where you can find up all the kinds of locators. To copy a XPath, simply click on the button on the left section and paste that here. Notice something, this is the same XPath I have generated. But the thing is that now I don't have to provide the single quote. I don't have to replace the double quotes with single quotes. This means that this tool provides us a relatively stable XPath, right? So here we have this, say we have this thing here. Now this works the same way in Firefox as well. So let us just discuss it once, how we can open it for Firefox as well. So here we have the Firefox browser. Let's go to that same page. Copy this URL, close this window, we don't need it. Paste its URL here, F12 key, Control Shift C, highlight the element, this is the element here. Click on this drop down button and here we have the Selectors Hub. You can see that the relative XPath generated here is again the same. Let me just paste it somewhere. Where? Here you can see that this is completely same. So it doesn't matter what browser you are using, it will be generating you something which is more stable than the browser itself, right? So here you can do that. Plus, if you have a XPath, you can simply try that as well. It will be providing you that element. It will be showing you things related to that particular element. And here, say, you can see that what we have is we have the element located and it is showing us the things here, the details about that particular element, right? Now here the next question, what if two elements have same id, then how would we be able to use the second one, right? Now the thing is very simple. The thing is, suppose this is the element and this is the element. We can locate the parent and we can specify the second number, right? How? Let's see that. instead of locating this one directly, what I'll do is I'll locate this dev class cell. Notice something, it has provided me a relative XPath already. Copy this and here control F and paste this XPath. We have got this. The thing is that now I have an option of choosing between this input tag or this input tag. How? Let me just show you. So here input, and here you can see that there are two elements with the, just a second. So here input, and you can see that there are two elements, two of two. This is something that we are able to see, right? So here this means that we can deal with one of the elements. Now what if I specify a number here inside the bracket? So here I want the second element. You can see that now this only second element is being accessed. This means that what if the element shares the same ID? It doesn't matter to us. We are not even using any ID here to locate the element. If you notice something, we are just using the XPath to locate the element, which does not even utilize the ID. And we are actually able to locate the element that we needed, right? This means that even if there are 30 elements with the same ID, we can specify that which element we need. It doesn't matter how many other elements are there. We can simply specify that I specifically need this particular element and we can get that particular element as well, right? For example, I've got this XPath generated for this one. This is my own custom XPath. In the same way, I can specify the input one as well. So we have the XPath generated for the same element. Notice something. I have listed out four different XPaths which locate the same element. It doesn't matter which one of them I use. It will be locating the element, right? Now the next question, which one I need to use, right? Which one we need to use or which one you need to use. The thing is that I would suggest you to use the ones that you have generated yourself, right? Maybe in some scenarios this will work, maybe in some scenarios this will work, maybe in scenarios this will work. But the least possibility of some XPath working is this, because whenever there is a change, say implied by the developer, right? Whenever the developer makes a change inside the code, the first thing that changes is the XPath. Why? Because the locator, the element may be, say, switched to some other location. We won't be able to deal with that element. But if we are using a custom XPath, the possibility of losing that element is very low because we already have generated something that was stable. Maybe with the same XPath, we would be able to deal with it and we will be able to say locate the element once again, right? So here it doesn't matter, and here the thing is that we can actually deal with it very easily, right? So here we have the XPaths generated and we have the things working for us. Now here what I'll do is I'll locate that element, say web element, say submit button equals to, say driver dot find element by XPath. What is the XPath? So this is the XPath, but instead of input 1, it should be input 2. We want to click on the submit button. So here submit button dot click. Let's see that what happens here. So here you can see that it is taking a little bit of a time. And here you can see that we've got a temporary issue. This means that it has clicked on the sign in button that we wanted, right? So here this part is done. We are actually able to say deal with the things the way we want them to be, right? And we are able to locate the elements, right? Now let's go back to the syllabus. So here what all things are covered now? What is XPath? Why do we need XPath? We have installed the XPath checker, right? We have calculated the XPath manually. We have discussed about the complete and absolute XPath. We we have already discussed that can two elements have same XPath, right? We'll discuss it more now, right? And say creating customized XPaths and what if the say XPaths, change variable IDs. We'll discuss about these two things now. Can two elements have same XPath? This is a question for you guys. We already have seen some kind of an example few minutes back. So can anyone be able to answer that? Can two elements have same XPath? So here the answer to this question is yes, multiple elements can share the same XPath. For example, if I remove this number from here, you can see that the same XPath is locating to two different elements. I'll remove something from here. You can see that again the XPath is referring to two different elements. I'll remove a little bit more information here. Right? Here you can see that there are two different elements once again. Say double forward slash input. There are three different elements with the same XPath. We can specify the number as well, which one we need to use. For example, I need to use a third one, right? Is it working? No, it is not working. Why? Because these are not parallel elements, right? So here we can deal with the elements, but there are some limitations. We'll discuss about those limitations later on, but you can see that there are three elements sharing the same XPath. We can deal with the elements here, right? How would we be able to deal with multiple elements? That is something that we are going to learn in the coming lectures. But here the question was, can multiple elements share the same XPath? And the answer to that question is yes. Now the next question, that is when XPaths change or when there are variable IDs. What is the
Abhishek,
best
one
fit
question
example
here.
for this? Yeah, someone is asking a question.
Yes, can multiple elements have same absolute XPath? Of course, relative XPath is possible in HTML, but can two elements have same absolute XPath?
No, they cannot have same absolute XPath. But the thing is that absolute XPath is something that is very unstable. I would never suggest you guys use absolute XPath. This exists. This allows you to understand the structure. That is why we use it. But I will never ever ask you guys or suggest you guys to use absolute XPath because this is not stable at all. What if the pages are dynamic? What if the application is dynamic? In that case, the absolute XPath won't work, right? In such kind of a scenarios, say partial XPaths or custom XPaths work very smoothly. Okay. Now here we are having these things with us, right? And the elements that we have tried to locate are working smoothly, right? Now the question was this variable XPath. I have a very best fit example here. That example is this Facebook login screen, right? So if we go to facebook.com and if we analyze this login button, right? Notice something. It has the ID u underscore 0 underscore d underscore ah in capitals, right? The ID is this right now, right? Now, if we notice it something here, we have the Facebook example. Notice something. We had opted a different way for here. Why? If I open the same page on some other browser, so we have this Firefox open somewhere. Is it open? Yeah, it is open. Let's go to facebook.com. I just hope so that my ID is not logged in. Here it is not logged in. Control Shift C, analyze this login button, and you can see that. Where is that login button? Just a minute. Yeah. Notice something. There is a difference. ID is different now. U underscore D underscore E5. The same element is having different IDs every time, right? So what can be done? What if we have a variable ID? Why to rely on this particular element with its ID? Now the problem here, you can see that we have the XPath say locator here installed. Now the thing is that the relative XPath generated here, right here is say specifying a relative XPath that is different. It is not using the ID here. It is using something else. Control F, Control F, Control V, and paste this XPath. You can see that the element is getting located. I'll copy the same XPath. I'll keep this XPath copied and I'll just move to the this window. Control Shift C, locate this element, Control F, Control V. You can see that this XPath is working here, right? What does this XPath represent? Let's analyze this now. So here, the XPath generated is something like this. What does this mean? This means that this XPath is trying to look up for a button whose text is login. Why normalize space? Because it may have multiple spaces in between. It will be looking up for the element with the normalized space that is log in. This should be the text that should match, right? So here it has found the element here and we are able to deal with it, right? And this is the highlighted element that we actually needed to deal with, right? This way we can actually locate any of the elements. Now remember something that I gave you an exercise. Let's go to that website, facebook.com. Here, once you have logged in, you will be taken to this particular page, right? Now, what I want you guys to do is, I want you guys to come here, click on this link, right? Then click on this another link, friends link, scroll down. No need to scroll down, just look up for the search button. Here on the search bar, specify a name, for example, Gaurav. There may be multiple Gauravs in my account. You can see that there are 8 Gauravs here, right? Try specifying a name or say try specifying Vinay. There may be say single Vinay here, right? You can specify a name here. You can try with multiple names as well. So here you can see that a lot of names have come up, right? So just try looking up for a friend, right? Just try working with this and I hope so that everyone will be able to locate all the elements here and deal with those elements, right? Now, so the next thing, just a second. So where is our syllabus? I think so I closed the syllabus. Yeah. So these things are done. We are done with the introduction of XPath. Why do we need XPath? We have installed a tool that allows us to locate the XPaths very easily, to generate the XPaths easily, right? And here, say all the questions have been answered, right? Now I have already given you say exercise. Now, apart from that, say what else you guys should do. So here, just a second. Apart from this, what you guys should do is you guys should go to rediff.com. Here, after getting to the screen, go to money, then go to my portfolio and try logging in here. A very simple steps. So there are two exercises that I want you guys to do. Let us just discuss about them. Exercise 1, Facebook login, then say profile, then friends, then say search a friend, then here say you can click on that friends link as well. Open profile. What's another exercise? That is rediff.com, my portfolio, sorry, money, then my portfolio login, right? So these are the things that you guys need to practice yourself, right? We have learned how we can generate a XPath and how we can deal with that particular XPath, right? Try locating the elements yourself, try generating different kinds of XPaths yourself, try writing custom XPaths. Do not rely on the browser generated XPath. Try writing it yourself. Then only you will get to understand what all these things matter here, what all these things signify here, right? So this was our today's lecture. Any queries?
Abhishek, when we actually identify an element on a page by Control Shift C, we go to that particular element where we want to go directly on the
Right.
web page and identify it. And we copy the relative XPath because absolute XPath you said because developer can change code and that can change. It's risky. The code may need maintenance. So
Right.
if I go to the relative XPath of the exact identical element, that could be second or third element with that relative XPath. So how, and when it's finding, it finds from left to right and can catch the first element. So how would I make sure that I go to the third element or the fourth element, which exactly I want to go to?
Now the thing is that the browser is intelligent enough to generate the XPath, which is for that particular element only. In
Okay,
case
so
if it
that is
is,
also unique.
yeah, that is also unique. The relative XPath that is generated is also unique, right?
Okay.
In case if the browser fails, don't worry, you have this tool as well. That is the selectors hub. In case if this also fails, then you have to generate the XPath on your own, right? We have already tried out generating a XPath. The thing is that we are not leaving XPaths here. From now on, in the coming lectures, in the every lecture, we will be discussing about XPath, that how we can locate a different kind of a element. The thing is that we cannot leave this thing here. This is something that is the heart of Selenium, right? If you're not able to locate elements, you're not able to do anything with Selenium. So in in the every coming lecture, we will be dealing with the XPaths. We will be generating lots and lots of XPaths for dealing with elements, right? That way you can understand that how we can actually generate a XPath. For example, I gave you an exercise for Facebook, right? The thing is that we will be discussing about the solution of that exercise in the next lecture itself, so that you guys can get to understand that how am I generating XPaths and how am I working with those XPaths here. Okay.
Mm.
Abhishek, I have one small query.
Yeah.
Like in the Facebook login page, the login button. So last time we located is by the name of login
Right.
because it ID is dynamically changing and we located by login. So why we should use XPath here? I can locate it by use of login. So what is the use of XPath here? So I just want to know where we should specially go for XPath and where we can go for the normal like mandatory tagging, which is name ID. We
See,
can go for
yeah, I
that.
got a question. I think you
Hmm.
guys are able to see my screen. This is the
Yeah.
Rediff login page, right? There was an element that we needed. For example, the say element that had the URL, right? Which URL? This rediff.com URL, right? This particular thing. Now, it does not carry any information like name, class, ID, right? Question comes up, how would I be able to deal with this particular element? Now, if I go to selectors hub, you can see that actually it has generated a relative XPath for me. Now, the thing is that what you can do is you can simply right click here, go to copy and copy XPath. I'm pretty sure that it has generated a XPath that will work for you. Understand this XPath. It is trying to look up for an element whose ID is wrapper, this element, right? Then it specified that inside this ID wrapper there are multiple div tags. We need the first div tag. Inside that div tag there is an anchor tag, that is the element we need. And you can see that with the help of this structure, right? With the help of this fusion structure, we are actually able to locate the element. So here we are not relying on ID or say class or name. We are actually able to locate that element without these things as well, right?
Got it, Assis. But the thing is there any path we should follow? Like first we will look for ID, then the name, then if nothing is there, then XPath we should prefer. Otherwise, I just want to know XPath is most commonly used. I think everything is available. For example, for ID is available, name is available, and I just use XPath to identify the element, locate the element. So
Right.
is this the right approach?
See, I would suggest you guys to use this XPath approach because in case we specify IDs, the thing is that you won't be writing more and more XPaths. I want you guys to write more and more XPaths. See, for the same element, notice something here. We have the ID password, this. Notice something, this XPath. This is also telling that there is a ID which has the value password, right? But how? We're telling that there is an attribute ID whose value is password here also, right? So in the same way, we can specify name as well. So at the rate name equals to the value, whatever the value would be. Say it is PASSWD. This is not the actual value, but we can specify something like this as well. This is just the attribute that needs to be placed here like this, right? So this way we are actually generating something that is simply telling that there is an element whose name is password, but that element tag name is input. Otherwise, it is just open that the Selenium code will try to look up for an element whose name is password. There may be some two, three elements. First is input tag, second one is div tag, the third one is span tag. It will look up, it will provide you the first element. But if you specifically tell that I need the input tag only, then it will be looking up for those elements with the same specific information, more detailed information here, right?
So whenever you are just telling us about XPath, you just told that it will be run little bit slow. So is there any performance issue with the XPath?
No. There is no performance issue with the XPath.
Okay, okay,
It is just when you are trying to locate a XPath, it takes time. Okay, but
okay.
once you start working with it, there is no issue, right? Now here the next question is, someone has asked me, what about the CSS selectors? We will be dealing with CSS selectors once you guys get stable with the XPath. I don't want you guys to be flooded with the information that gets you confused, right? We will be dealing with CSS selectors very soon, but not today or not tomorrow or say day after tomorrow. We will take a little bit time before we say start working with CSS selectors as well.
Just a purely technical question, Abhishek. I'm not sure if there is a practical application of this. Is there a way to find out the next element with the same ID? I mean, like find next, right? You do a control F
Yes,
and
very
click
easy.
find next.
Very easy. Notice something here. See, what is ID? What is this thing? Right? Notice something. I'm having three elements with the same XPath. Consider that I have specified the information here at the rate ID equals to 123, right?
Mm.
And I'm getting to see one of 10 or one of 20. This means that multiple elements are sharing the same ID here, right? It doesn't matter how many IDs we have, how many elements we have. The XPath will locate each and every element. We can then explicitly specify that which element we would want to deal with.
This makes it a bit confusing because the holder or the the recipient of the value on the left side is not an array, right? Or is it an array? The web
We
element.
will be dealing with such situations, don't worry. Just try out the things that we've discussed today. Just go through with these things once. Then you'll get a hands-on experience how actually I'm able to do these things, right? Then we will be dealing with such situations as well whenever there is a element which share the same ID with another element as well, and how would we be able to use the second one or the third one. Okay, it's not about just ID, it's about the same XPath, say element sharing the same XPath, right? We will be dealing with such situations that how we can have the element located that we would want to deal with, right? It is just all about generating the XPath that locates, that translates to a single element only. Okay,
Right, right.
so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter actually that how many elements share the same ID. It literally doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Abhishek,
Yes.
can we call the elements by multiple attributes? Like one element can have multiple attributes, right?
Right. We can look at elements with multiple attributes as well. This will be taught in the coming lectures. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of things will be covered regarding XPaths. A lot of information will be provided to you regarding XPaths. It's just that due to time constraints and level of information constraint, I cannot flood you with lots and lots of information, because that will be like you guys will get overwhelmed with the information, and you guys won't be able to work with it, right? So it's better that we go slowly and step by step. Let's say let's go floor by floor rather than jumping to fourth floor or fifth floor directly. Let's go step by step so that you guys get to understand all the things, that how would we be able to deal with things, right? Any other queries, guys?
Just one last question, Abhishek. You said on the website there is actually somewhere exercises are mentioned. Is that possible to show today or maybe tomorrow? It doesn't matter. Before we start the session, where exactly the exercises on the website are mentioned?
You can contact the say the chat
That
team. They will be able to guide you with that.
we're
Okay.
chatting here on Teams.
Uh, Not Teams,
Admin.
on the website itself,
Acha, email ID. Acha,
criticsselenium.com.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, guys. So see you in the next lecture.
Bye bye.